This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good evening. We're coming on the air with breaking news. The Pentagon confirming that Iran has launched a series of ballistic missiles targeting American forces in Iraq. Let's go to NBC's Richard Engel right now. He is in Iraq with the latest. What can you tell us, Richard?
Well, Iran has confirmed that it has launched what is a conventional strike, firing, it says, more than a dozen ballistic missiles from inside Iranian territory at bases that house American personnel here in Iraq. The U.S. military says that two bases were targeted. The Al-Assad base, which is in western Iraq, about 200 miles from the Iranian border, and here in Erbil, where I am right now. We heard what seemed like two explosions, and there are helicopters in the sky right now patrolling the area. Iran is not just claiming responsibility for this. It says that the operation was codenamed Martyr Soleimani. So it says this is a direct response to the U.S. targeted killing of the top Iranian general, Qasem Soleimani. The Iranian news agencies have also put out video. They want the world to know. The video shows what seem to be at least three missiles fired from Iran. You can see them in the air. You could hear the distinct sound of a rocket engine. We do not know, however, if there are casualties at this stage. There are reports in the Iraqi media that there are some Iraqi casualties. U.S. military officials say they are still assessing damage. U.S. military officials that we've been in contact with said that at the Al-Assad base, they were under attack, that troops took to their shelters, went down into bunkers, and that these missiles came in waves, a first wave followed by a second wave. Iranian news agency says that if the United States responds, there will be more attacks, what they describe as devastating attacks. Now, what we don't know is, will the United States respond? The United States has threatened to respond, so it is very likely that some sort of response is either being formulated or potentially in process.
Richard, over the years, one of the points of dispute between Iran and the U.S. is its development of ballistic missiles. Do we know if these are large ballistic missiles or rockets?
Iran says they are ballistic missiles, and to travel from the Iranian border, we don't know exactly how deep in Iranian territory they were fired from. But to go just from the edge of the Iranian border to the Assad base, you would need some sort of powerful missile. It wouldn't have to be a long-range missile, but a lot more than just these point-and-shoot rockets that tend to be fired at U.S. bases here in Iraq. So a very significant escalation. This is a conventional cross-border attack by an organized military against an organized military base, U.S. bases here in Iraq.
Right.
Technically, these are Iraqi bases that house U.S. personnel, but they are, without a doubt, they were targeted by Iran, and Iran wants the world to know it. Every few minutes or so, Iranian different news agencies are putting out different Twitters saying that this is in response to the death of Qasem Soleimani. They're putting out hashtags, Martyr Soleimani. They want the Iranian people to know that they have taken some action.
Richard Engel on the ground inside Iraq. Thanks. Let's go to NBC's Courtney Kube at the Pentagon. Courtney, what are they saying there?
Well, they're saying the Pentagon was the first one to acknowledge that, in fact, that what they are saying, Iran launched more than a dozen ballistic missiles from inside Iran at two locations inside of Iraq. These are Iraqi bases that house U.S. and coalition troops and Al-Assad in western Iraq. And then, of course, the launch up towards Erbil, what's unclear is, in fact, whether they were targeting or actually struck the base. There is a base that houses a number of U.S. military in Erbil. You'll remember only a few weeks ago, they launched out of there for a part of the raid that killed Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Only weeks ago, they launched out of Erbil. So there is a U.S. military presence there, but what's unclear is exactly what was hit up there. The U.S. military continues to do their battle damage assessment, trying to determine what was hit at both locations and whether there were any casualties. So far, we are not hearing about that, but that doesn't mean that that's not the case, Lester. We're also, look at one of the targets, Al-Assad Air Base. This is a sprawling base out in western Iraq in the desert. President Trump was there only weeks ago for his first trip to Iraq as president. that one of the reasons that location has housed so many U.S. troops, largely Marines, over the years is because they're able to provide more force protection there. It is so spread out. It's not in it's in a rural area, not in a big city like the base in Baghdad or like the bases up in Erbil. So it provides more force protection. If in fact Iran was trying to target specific things on that base, that would be very difficult unless you had very accurate and precise precision-guided missiles.
And worth noting, of course, you've made the point that all these bases in that region have been on high alert, anticipating some sort of reaction or retaliation. Courtney Kube, thanks. NBC's Kristen Welker is following all this now from the White House. Kristen, what's the reaction there tonight?
Well, we just got reaction from Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham a short time ago, Lester. Let me read that to you. She says, "We are aware of the reports of the attacks on U.S. facilities in Iraq. The president has been briefed and is monitoring the situation closely and consulting with his national security team." We know the vice president has also been briefed. He has called lawmakers, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senator Chuck Schumer, to inform them, to keep them briefed about the attack. Now, Speaker Pelosi just putting out a tweet of her own saying that she is closely monitoring this situation, these bombings targeting U.S. troops. She said we must ensure the safety of our service members. So all eyes on this. The West Wing very full here tonight as the White House monitors the developments. Lester.
It's going to be a late night for all. All right, Kristen, thank you. We'll have much more on this breaking news throughout the night on this NBC station. We'll pop on the air as developments warrant. Also coverage on MSNBC and NBCnews.com. For now, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Good evening.